I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Molly Smith Metzler, who created Maid, which is based on Stephanie Land's memoir about surviving abuse and poverty. Now, this isn't the first time you've explored issues of class and poverty in your work. What is it about those themes that have interested you over the years?
Oof, I'm not sure. I think it's, when I went to playwriting school, I had this great teacher, Marcia Norman, and she would talk about how we all have our stuff as writers, our stuff that we go to, and socioeconomics, motherhood, class, kind of like not just class, but the envy for people that have money. It is definitely the themes that are my stuff, but they have been for a long time. And I think it's probably the way I grew up. I grew up outside of New York. I'm the daughter of two school teachers, so there was a huge emphasis on education and culture, but not a lot of access to some of these things that, my friends who came from privilege came from. So I think I have that kind of point of view of having worked very, very hard and not come from much that I love to write about.
And Stephanie Land herself is an executive producer of the series. Did you work closely with her? Was she able to provide a lot of input?
So Stephanie was a great friend to the writers' room on this project. And what I mean is that she understood that this would be inspired by, and it would be its own thing, and it would very much be an adaptation. It is a loose adaptation of the memoir. However, she was a real asset because she was open and available. When we first decided to do the project, she met us in Washington State and took John Wells and I through Port Townsend, Washington, where the book is set, showed us all the things she wrote about, and was just always available. The writers' room had questions. She came to visit us a couple times, but she also really understood that she had her lane and we had ours, and really allowed us to do our job.
And what was your first, exposure to the book? Like, how did you first come across it?
Really good luck. I was in John Wells's office because I was working on Shameless. I was a writer producer on that show for many years, and Margot Robbie and John Wells decided to partner and get the rights to this book, and they met with Stephanie and got the book. And I think they were literally like talking about who should write it. And I was in the office, and I had just written a play called Cry It Out, which had a wonderful production here in Los Angeles, but it's about motherhood and socioeconomics. It's about my stuff, So I think I was kind of in the right time at the right place and had just written about it. And so they were like, let's give this to Molly. And Erin Jontow gave it to me. She runs John Wells' television department. And I'll never forget, there's a little sticky note on it that said Maid, and then it said Molly, Maid Molly. So I went home and read it that night.
And when you watch the series, there's so many details about just the system of poverty and trying to get help and all that sort of stuff. That's these incredible mazes of complexity that people have to hoops people have to jump through, and as a viewer, like, you're getting outraged by association, just sort of like watching it happen to Alex, the character in the series. Did you have experiences like that reading the book where you just couldn't believe the system works like this and you almost want to throw it across the room?
Yeah, I feel like the book is a memoir and it reads like a novel because it's so stressful. It felt like, a Herculean, like Greek, incredibly urgent, high stakes thing that's just to get through the day every day. And it was very eye-opening to me how difficult America makes it to be a single mom in this country, working below the poverty line, working minimum wage. And, it's the style of the memoir. It's very, she doesn't hold back. And so you are experiencing all those lines for those benefits that don't really exist. And it is infuriating experience and so stressful. And so that was very much top of mind when I sat down to adapt it, was how do we capture the incredible emotional stress of being poor in this country? And that's sort of where we started the conversations with them, taking down the money, just the constant, the bomb's going to go off at any time. And, that's very much what the memoir is like as well. It is a landmine.
And one thing I appreciated about the series is that we start the series at the moment when she leaves this relationship. And a lot of stories we see about abuse, it's very linear. It's a person is being abused, they leave the relationship, they're no longer abused. In this case, we see how back and forth it is, especially when you have that much financial dependence and that much interconnectedness with a child. What did you think about being able to show that in a way we don't usually see it?
It was very important to me. And I think one of the things I thought about almost daily for the 2 years I spent working on Maid is this idea that people say, why didn't you just leave him? The guy was mean. Why didn't you just leave him? And I really wanted to show on screen exactly why you don't leave, what it looks like. It's because it's not black and white. Abusers don't have t-shirts on that say I'm an abuser. They look like Nick Robinson, and they have, they aren't all one thing. They have love and they have addiction and they have their own problems. And it's someone that you care about usually, and you get stuck in these cycles. And so I really wanted to show what it was like to be stuck in that cycle, what that cycle looks like. Mostly because I wanted people to stop asking that question. Why you don't leave? Because it's really hard. It takes that statistic in the show. It does take 7 times for most victims to leave an abuser. And that's why it doesn't look like abuse. It looks like, Nick Robinson.
And you worked, of course, with John Wells on this, who is a producer and a director on the show. What was it like setting the tone for the show with him, with those, especially those first couple of episodes?
Well, it was an incredible blessing to have John, because also we were in peak COVID when we started shooting the show. So, I mean, just to have such an incredibly professional producer who was also, such an incredible director, having him there on set, setting the tone with me, I think it was good for the crew. It put everyone at ease. It helped our safety, but it also gave it all a sense of sort of, we all were allowed to relax and do our jobs because he was at the wheel in that way, which was, I think, just emotionally, it felt really good during, COVID was scary. It was a scary time to shoot. But the other wonderful thing about working with John is we knew each other well. We had been doing Shameless together for years. He's been a mentor to me. I feel like everyone should have to study with him, be in one of his rooms before you showrun for the first time, because he's just the master at it. But he also gave me this opportunity and understood that this would be my show, this would be my voice, this would be my writer's room. And I think what an incredible opportunity for me to have my mentor be in that position, like right across the hall, where I could go have a breakdown with him.
And besides John Wells, all the other directors on the project are women. Was that important to you to have that female eye to tell this story about like a really uniquely woman's situation where her gender really plays a huge part in the way she experiences the world?
Yeah, I think it was important, but I also think if we told the story of, a janitor, of like a male character, I still feel like it would have been important to me. I think it was important to John too, and to Margot Robbie, of course, but when we have these opportunities to hire directors, to hire production designers, to hire directors of photography, we try to hire the best women that we can for the job whenever it's possible. So it was front of mind for sure, but also what an embarrassment of riches. I mean, Q Tran, who was our director of photography, she also directed her first episode of television on Maid. And we were there and got to see that happen and give her that opportunity. So it was, it was a really special time. And a lot of our directors, not a lot of them, but a couple of them are sort of new to the scene. Lila Neugebauer, who directed episode 5, she's been a theater director for years, but she's just, kind of coming out on this coast, and she's an extraordinary director. And so we got to kind of give her this opportunity and watch her work. And so, but yeah, we are very proud of how many women worked on the show.
And you cast, of course, Margaret Qualley and Andie MacDowell, real life mother and daughter, as the mother and daughter in the series. Did you have actors in mind when you were writing it, when you were developing it? And because I know Margaret helped bring Andie on board. So like, how did that casting process come about?
We didn't have anyone in mind we took it out as a pitch, and we sold it. We got the series order, which was fantastic. And I got to do quite a bit of the writing before we cast. So that was really great, actually, because I feel like we knew what we were getting into. We knew that Alex was going to be on screen for every single frame for 10 hours. And we knew that the casting of her was everything. It is the show. If we don't care about that woman, we're not going to stay on for the second episode. So it was an exhaustive process to think about Alex. And I know I speak on behalf of all the producers when I say that the moment we met Margaret, that was that. She's so raw and unaffected And she's also modern. Like I felt like it had a fresh take. Like this character felt fresh to me because of how vulnerable she is and how just present. And we were just in love with her. And she made the writing sound as if we wrote it together, which is always the goal. And then when we went to production, I was actually writing a lot of it while we were shooting, and I ended up writing it for her because she's so extraordinary. And then when it came to casting Paula, that's hard. I mean, Paula's a really hard role. We cast Nick Robinson after Margaret, and then we were kind of thinking carefully about who to bring on to play Paula. And her mom is Andie MacDowell. We were all kind of like, we don't know the relationship. I mean, are they close? Are they not close? We didn't know what to do. And it was a great relief because Margaret brought it up and said, I've thought about this and I really want to do this with my mom. And we were like, yes. So she came on board really fast. And then the day she showed up on set, it was just like, when I saw the two of them together, it just felt like we were the luckiest crew in the world to get to see that moment of mother and daughter working together. It was just electric.
And for your work on the show, the show has been recognized at a number of awards and by a number of groups, including the Writers Guild Award that you won. What's it like getting that award, particularly from your fellow writers in the industry?
I mean, it's crazy because I am a writer and all my friends are writers and my husband's a writer, and I know how critical and sort of cranky we are as a group. And, I think to write a limited series that's about a writer, you just kind of hope that you're doing a good job and not humiliating yourself. And so the fact that the Writers Guild felt that we did a great job, I don't know. I feel like I can retire now, right? I mean, I don't know, but it meant
not
so
before
much.
the Emmys.
Yeah, right. It meant so much to me and to the other writers. And there's 4 writers and myself. We all really, I think I like to say we just kind of bled writing this. It came from all of our hearts, and so we get to all share it, which is also a really nice thing. It's for the 5 of us. So special, really special.
And in addition to writing for TV, you're also a playwright, which is a much different kind of writing. It's much more solitary, I would imagine, form of writing. Do you find that you prefer the solitary process where you have like complete control over your work, or like, do you really like the collaborative process that goes into TV?
Well, it's funny because there's like a part of playwriting, a period of playwriting where you are alone in your room, but it's not very long. Once the play is, well, I mean, it can take a long time to write that play, but once it's written, the cool thing about being the playwright is it's a lot like television production. You are immediately working with other people. There's designers, you're working with actors, you're working with directors, you are communicating what you see in your brain, and you're also listening to what other brilliant people see in their brain. And to me, they are very similar, actually. Being a playwright and being showrunner, they really do fit together. And the other thing is, both mediums, writers are I don't want to say the stars of the show, because that's definitely not true. It's stars of the star of the show, but we are empowered. A playwright is really empowered in a rehearsal process to say, oh, I don't know, I think I saw it like this, or to kind of steer the ship, and it's similar in television. It's totally different in features. All the screenwriters tell you that, I'm sure, but in television, it's really writer friendly, it's writer driven, and I got to make Maid with these incredibly brilliant people, and I'm so proud of all of us. And I'm also proud I didn't crash the ship.
Yeah, it must be I can only imagine what it's like to write something that's entirely in your head and then see people bring it to life, from like a set to an actor playing a role to a cinematographer lighting it, or any number of things. What is that feeling like, whether it's on stage or on screen?
I mean, it's wild. There was a moment on Maid when I got to set, and my husband and I had been writing and working on episode 9, which is one of my favorites. But there's this moment where they're playing with a crocus in the garden, and the crocus has a name. It's called Sandy, and then there's another crocus called Candy. And it's just this little thing that we put in the script that we didn't give a lot of thought to, but that we just thought would be a nice moment of hope for these characters. And when we showed up in the prop shop and saw all the crocuses, like every color, every shape crocus, and there were all these brilliant people sort of saying, was it this big? Is it this big? And you realize how much thought and care goes into every tiny detail. And that moment on screen is very beautiful. It was so full of hope, and John Wells directed it so beautifully. And there were meetings about the crocuses. And I just think that at the end of the day, that's why I think all artists do what we do is we want to reach through the screen and reach people. And we don't want to do it alone. We want to do it with other people, with fellow artists. So it is a pinch me moment, though, for sure.
You've signed a 3-year deal with Netflix, to create content for them. Do you think you'll continue exploring similar themes of class, or exploring different genres, or do you have any idea where you want to go with that?
Well, like I said, it's my stuff. So whether I want to or not, I feel like class is something I'm always going to write about and think about and talk about, the haves and the have-nots. It's just, I don't know, it's in the fabric of my work. I'd love to write a murder show, but it's just not who I am. But I will say, I think I'm done with cleaning for a while. I think I'm done with cleaning. It's funny, come episode 10, I was like, we are out of ideas. I don't know how to make cleaning interesting anymore. We did it for 10 hours, but we are out. But I feel like writing about drama and comedy and where they meet, how they come together, how they dance together. That's also something that's always going to be in my work, that, I'm never going to write probably a straight comedy or a searing drama. I like where the two dance together. So I'm hoping to do that for Netflix for the next 3 years, and then for many more.
Well, I want to congratulate you on Maid. Congratulations on the award recognition you've received, and fingers crossed, the awards recognition to come at the Emmys, and for everything else you're going to bring us for Netflix. So thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Oh, thank you, Daniel, and thank you for supporting Maid and for covering the show and for having me. So nice to meet you.
It's my pleasure.